Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty the Supreme Commander presides over the official inauguration of the Hospital of the Medical City for Military and Security Services in Muscat. Assigned by His Majesty the Sultan, the Foreign Minister heads the Sultanate of Oman's delegation in the extraordinary Arab Islamic Summit in Riyadh. The Sultanate of Oman launches its first Omani satellite specializing in remote sensing and Earth observation technologies. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, the Supreme Commander, paid a royal visit today to the Medical City for Military and Security Services and presided over the official opening of the Medical City Hospital for Military and Security Services, Muscat. Upon His Majesty's arrival to the Medical City, he was received by His Highness Sayyid Shihab bin Tariq Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for Defense Affairs, Board Chairman of the Medical City for Military and Security Services, His Excellency Engineer Uday bin Hilal Al Ma'wali, Head of the Medical City for Military and Security Services. His Majesty was also greeted by some ministers and commanders, board members of the Medical City. In the Medical City Hospital for Military and Security Services, Muscat, the head of the city was honored to deliver a speech before His Majesty the Sultan. Then His Majesty watched a visual presentation on the progress of the medical sector and the contributions of Omani doctors throughout the ages, as well as the stages of development of the medical field in the Sultanate of Oman up to this day. While His Majesty the Supreme Commander inaugurates this towering medical edifice, as it represents another national achievement for the renewed renaissance of the Sultanate of Oman. After that, His Majesty the Supreme Commander gave his royal blessing, marking the official opening of the Medical City Hospital for Military and Security Forces, Muscat. Then, a detailed film was screened before His Majesty about the medical facilities, specialized departments and levels of health care at the Medical City Hospital, as well as the added value it represents for the health sector in the Sultanate of Oman. His Majesty also went on a tour of the hospital's departments and wings, where he was briefed on the design, as it was built according to the highest technical standards to meet the needs of medical services and integrated healthcare that it provides as per the vision of the Medical City for Military and Security Services and its national goals, in a manner that comes in line with Oman Vision 2040. After that, His Majesty the Supreme Commander wrote a royal speech to commemorate this royal visit and the official opening of the Medical City Hospital for Military and Security Services, Muscat. His Majesty then shook hands with assistant heads of the Medical City for Military and Security Services, Director Generals of the Medical Cities Hospitals, and engineers of the Medical City Hospital project for Military and Security Services, Muscat. After that, His Majesty left the Medical City for Military and Security Services. Alongside His Majesty, the official inauguration was attended by some ministers, commanders of the Sultan's armed forces, and military and security units, as well as some senior officials. Assigned by His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister, headed the Sultanate of Oman's delegation to the extraordinary Arab and Islamic Summit, which opened in the Saudi capital, Riyadh. The summit will discuss the ongoing Israeli aggression on the Palestinian territories and Lebanon and developments in the region. His Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, chairman of the summit, stressed the necessity of continuing efforts to establish the independent Palestinian state on the borders of 1967 with East Jerusalem as its capital. He called for an immediate end to the Israeli aggression on Gaza Strip and Lebanon. The Secretary General of the Arab League, Ahmed Abul Ghait, also stressed that the absence of international law and the lack of international accountability encouraged Israel to escalate, noting that the expansion of the conflict in Gaza and Lebanon would endanger the future of the region. He also renewed his call for an immediate ceasefire and for charting a clear path to the establishment of the Palestinian state. His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister, met with His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Bahrain. The meeting was held on the sidelines of the extraordinary Joint Arab-Islamic Summit that will be held in Riyadh in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The meeting touched on bilateral relations between Oman and Bahrain and means of enhancing cooperation in different fields. It also underscored the importance of boosting strategic partnerships in a manner that serves joint interests and integration between the two countries. The two sides discussed several regional and international topics. They underlined the importance of continuing exerting efforts to enhance the Arab-Islamic cooperation in tackling rising challenges. The two sides also affirmed their support of efforts to achieve a just and comprehensive peace in the region. The Sultanate of Oman launched its first Omani satellite registered under the name of the Sultanate of Oman with the International Telecommunications Union, specializing in remote sensing and Earth observation technologies and enhanced with artificial intelligence technologies. With the successful launch of this satellite, the Sultanate of Oman officially joins the field of space technology. It is the first advanced optical satellite for artificial intelligence computing developed locally, and it is also the first in a constellation of satellites aimed at providing the Sultanate of Oman with advanced capabilities for Earth observation. The satellite OL-1 is equipped with artificial intelligence computing capabilities, making it an effective tool for capturing and analyzing high-resolution images in real time as an optical satellite. Its advanced sensors allow for the collection of detailed images of Oman's natural landscapes, infrastructure, and natural resources, while artificial intelligence processes this data to provide actionable solutions faster than traditional satellites. The 29th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, held in the Azerbaijani capital Baku, has kicked off. The session, in which the Sultanate of Oman is participating, is looking to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating the impacts of global warming. Preparations have been completed for the attendance of leaders and governments tomorrow to resolve some climate-related issues. Still to come in our news bulletin. A scientific seminar in the Wilaya of Izki discusses agricultural history of the Wilaya and means of preserving it. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Major General Ali bin Abdullah Shidi, commander of the National Defense College at the Academy of Strategic and Defense Studies, received a delegation from the Joint Command and Staff College at the National Defense University in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, headed by Brigadier General Mohammed bin Hussein al-Subai'i. During the meeting, different academic and training topics were discussed. The delegation also listened to a briefing on the National Defense College, its facilities and equipment, and its various departments. A delegation from the Command and Staff College of the National Defense University of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia today visited the Joint Command and Staff College. Upon their arrival, the guests were received by the Joint Command and Staff College Acting Commandant. The guests were briefed on the Joint Command and Staff College, its curricula and training and educational programs. They also toured the college's facilities and departments. The activities of the 5th edition of the Riyadh al-Sharia Forum began at the Nizwa Cultural Center in Al-Dakhliya Governorate under the slogan, Our Identity, Principles and Values. The forum emphasizes the importance of identity in building national civilization and adhering to principles and values. The ministry seeks to achieve Oman Vision 2040 and work according to it by applying it as a tangible reality. The three-day forum is organized by the Department of Endowments and Religious Affairs in the Governorate. The opening ceremony was held under the patronage of His Excellency Sheikh Hilal bin Saeed Al-Hajri, Governor of Al-Dakhliya. A scientific symposium entitled Izki Throughout History was held in the Wilaya of Izki in Al-Dakhliya Governorate in its 2nd edition. The symposium discussed the agricultural history of the Wilaya and reviewed several scientific papers presented by a number of researchers, academics, and specialists in the agricultural field for a deeper understanding of traditional agricultural practices. The agricultural heritage in the Wilaya of Izki reflects the depth of Omani civilization and its interaction with its natural environment, which represented an essential part of its ancient history and cultural and economic identity. With the participation of more than 300 doctors and laboratory specialists, the activities of the 19th Asian International Conference on Blood Transfusion Medicine was launched in Muscat. The conference, which will continue for 2 days, discusses topics related to blood transfusion services and the latest scientific findings in the field of laboratories and blood banks. The conference also reviews the World Health Organization's framework for monitoring the blood transfusion process and discusses the challenges facing blood services. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. His Majesty the Supreme Commander presides over the official inauguration of the hospital, the medical city for military and security services, Muscat. Assigned by His Majesty the Sultan, the Foreign Minister heads the Sultanate of Oman's delegation in the extraordinary Arab Islamic Summit in Riyadh. The Sultanate of Oman launches its first Omani satellite specializing in remote sensing and Earth observation technologies. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, thank you for watching. Good night.